The next topic is one that interests me a lot
Okay.
because
Okay.
it's the minimal approach. Like it interests me because like always like lean or clean code and stuff like that, at least to get started in
Sure.
projects. But what can you give me more
Give you a
detail
little
about
bit
that thing?
more about that? Sure. Let's do this. Let me open Visual Studio Code here, and let's talk about the new minimal approach that you're going to see as part of .NET 6. Now, there's some folks that think, "Oh gosh, what's going on there? I don't quite understand. You're moving my cheese. You're changing how things work," and they get a little confused and and a little worried about how things work. When you start to create a new application now, of course, you have all the great templates that we had before, and now we show you just a snapshot of them because there's a lot of templates that we have available inside the toolkit by default. But what you can do here is you can create a new console application. I'm going to create this and just call this first console. Okay. So there it is. And I'll open that in Visual Studio Code. And what you're going to find is this looks a little weird, right? Let me just open. Yeah, that's fine. We'll stay right here. Right? That looks a little weird that our program CS to folks that have been doing .NET for 15 10 15 years, this looks weird. I have a
Yep.
file that's just hello world, but that is really how easy it is to get started. So I'm going to drop into my first console, and when I .NET run, it runs that application. It delivers my hello world. Why? How? Where did my program class go? My static void main method that starts everything off. We've simplified things, and we're using a new feature called top level programs. And it allows us to write just the code that we need to get things started. All that ceremony to start an application is gone. We've also introduced another feature called implicit usings, and we have that enabled inside of our project file here. We still have our project file, and it defines how we interact with and how we build and work with our application, the class files that we write. But because this implicit usings is here, check this out. If I open my obj folder where all that middle stuff is built, there is inside of here, scroll down, scroll down. Where is it? There we go. First console global usings. Check this out. It
Okay.
generates this file that has these global using statements. So for a console application, everybody gets these using statements added by default. So now I don't have to write in every one of my class files using system, right? You need to use the system namespace in order to get things like the date time type available for you to reference and work with dates in your application. Or
And will it work with my I don't know, like if I'm building a library and I want to add that my library, I could add it there, so it's included everywhere?
great question. These global using statements you can embed in any CS file in your application, but by adding that implicit using, activating that inside of your project file over here for a project that is Microsoft Net SDK, it'll generate these couple of global using statements for you. And you'll also get them in class libraries as well. But if you want to add other using statements that are appropriate for your domain, for like you were saying, your class library, you can generate and put those global using statements in a class file in that
That makes
project.
sense. I like that.
And now you're not constantly saying using my application dot domain, and that's just included everywhere in all your files by default. So
Yeah,
we're
work smarter, not harder, right?
exactly. So we're simplifying this a little bit, and
Like
folks
that.
look at this and they say, "Well, gosh, uh, Fritz, you're showing me this, and that seems so simple. That seems a little crazy that I would do something like that. Why, right? If it, how do I actually get some value out of this? Big deal. You showed me a hello world. Well, let's do something." And add a little bit more here. So let's add a package to this. I'm going to add the package link to CSV. Link to CSV is a package that allows you to use link statements to interact with comma separated value files, those CSV files that you see generated and output sometimes from Excel documents. So let's create a CSV file here. I'll call it contacts CSV, and I'm going to create first name, last name, and we'll put Jeff Fritz, and we'll put Frank Boucher, and let's put our friend Kathleen Dollard. There we go. And I have a CSV file. Well, I can now read that CSV file inside my project and start to work with it. So let's add a using for link to CSV. And now I can open and work with that CSV file inside my project to work with contacts, right? So let's create a class here, public class, contact, and I'll create a property for first name, because that was the name of the first field we had there. Let's create another property for last name, right? So now I've got a class still in one file. I've written 13 lines of code, but let's actually iterate over that list of contacts and work with them. So I'm going to create a context. That's going to be a new CSV context that allows me to work with that comma separated file. And let's go load our contacts. So I can say contacts, context, read. I'm going to go get a contact, and I'm going to get that from contacts CSV. Let's do a quick for loop across that so we can report who these folks are inside my file here for each statement. There we go. We'll call it a C in contacts. There we go. Get rid of that. And let's just do a console write line, and let's just output folks' names. So C dot first name, and we'll do C dot last name. Cool. That's it, right? I've written 20 lines of code. I haven't gone and written a bunch of other files, but I've got something now that uses a NuGet package to load data from somewhere else and output information that might be appropriate for folks to be able to work with this. And I've got my using statement wrong. Link to CSV. Yeah, that's, oh, it's a capital T there. My bad. My bad. And
a real live show wouldn't be real without any typos.
That's right. We got to have typos, right? But I was able to fetch data and just dump it out to the screen there easy, right? So when you think about this, if you needed to have some sort of little application that does some interaction, maybe with a microservice, maybe it needs to interact with a database to do some migration, this is real easy to write. I mean, 10, 20 lines of code, that this could be throwaway code. This contact could be a domain object sitting in a library that I just reference, and now all I'm really doing is these 11 lines of code. That's
I like
great
that.
stuff.
People in the chat are saying like Fritz is writing codes faster than I think, or like using Jeff semicolon. I love that. I love that. You know what? I think it will be very, very nice for me too. I'm the king of typos.
Yeah, right. And I'm going through things here, and I do happen to have a little bit of code over here that I wrote in the past that gets me there. So we did this with a console application. I've got about 3 minutes left in this segment. So what if we did this with an API, right? So let's do .NET New Web, and let's call this first API. All right. So I'm going to create a project called First API. And right when we think about APIs that we build, they're really a lot of ceremony to build a controller when we think about Web API in the past, and all the startup class and all that stuff to get it running. Well, now it's much easier. Now I don't have to go through all that ceremony because I have top level statements. I have my using statements generated for me. And I can now just say, well, this is a web application. Web application, create builder, build the application, and I can map a get statement, a get route that says, well, return hello world when I navigate to the root of this application. So I'll .NET run this real quick. And we'll see that this is a web application that we can click into here. There's my HTTPS right there. I will control click to open that, open up my Microsoft Edge browser, which decided to go to another screen on me. Stand by, friends. There we go. Hello world. Big deal, right? Okay, you can do hello world. But
like that's perfect for today.
Sure, that's just fine for today, but let's go put that link to CSV in here. let's put that back into this. And we can bring over that exact same concept again, right? Link to CSV. There it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let me put that contact back in here, right? So this might be sitting in another file. That's okay. And let me grab these. And what I can do is I can also add additional routes here to return, right? Let's say we go to /contacts. I can specify, let's do a little bit more than just return some text. So let me grab that contacts CSV from over here. I'm just going to copy it into the folder. So now it's over here. I have that same list of folks. And now what I can do is I can say, I don't even have to say var contacts, using the exact same business logic. I can return that collection of contacts directly when contacts is requested. So let's .NET run one more time here. And we're going to get this loaded up. There it is. I'll go back over to my browser. So it still says hello world, but if I go to /contacts, I'm using the exact same code. I'm using the exact same processing. I've only written just a few extra lines of code to reach into that contacts CSV. Once again, 10 lines of code, and now I have a little service that knows how to fetch data from an endpoint and present it almost like a microservice. And it runs faster than a normal full ASP.NET Core application with controllers and Razor pages and all that stuff. This gets you that really optimal performance that the third parties are reviewing and saying ASP.NET is the fastest web framework to use.
It's
What do you
very,
think,
very,
Frank?
very interesting. I know the time is flying, Jeff, and I was reading some question, but
Sure.
that implicit reference, I forgot the name already.
The implicit usings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Implicit usings. That's totally optional because, like,
Totally
someone
optional.
was just saying, like, yeah, it could be abused. Well, if you don't want it, you don't need to use it. Like, it's optional.
You're not wrong. You can turn it off. In an ASP.NET application, here's the usings that it generates for that. You see it generates a whole bunch more that are appropriate for ASP.NET Core. But to exactly your point, you can turn this off. There's an enabled flag right here inside your project file. So for those things that you want to change how we build your application, it's all there as enable and true false flags that you can turn on and off for your project.
That's wonderful. So we'll still have the control, but you know what? I really like that new format. Really nice, and it's all available in the release candidate too. Correct?
It's all available in the latest release candidate, and you're going to see all of these updates go out with the full version in
Of
November.
course. Yeah, soon.
Very
November
soon.
is like mostly, in a few days. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Can I answer his question from Sarosh on YouTube?
Yeah, we could go quickly though because
Sure.
we are a little bit
Sarosh
over
just
time.
asks, where can I add a global using in this API project? No problem. We got you covered, Sarosh. So here inside program, right, it's referencing and kind of pointing out how well it's consuming that content. You can just add another file out here, and I can call this my usings, whatever. It's just a CS file, and I can move that using statement over here and put that in. And I don't think I have the syntax right there. I don't. It's global using. Yes, global like that. And now it's available everywhere inside my application. So I can go back over to program CS, and that's no longer needed. And everywhere now it'll just have references, in my case, to links to CSV.
Wonderful.